This is episode 145 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Vivian Yip. Vivian is a public speaker, hospitality coach, midterm rental entrepreneur, and the founder of Corporate Rentals USA by Hestia. That is Vivian's vision for the future of corporate rentals. Vivian, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great to finally meet you and get some more expertise on this midterm rental space, but specifically corporate housing. But I want to start at your beginnings because your beginnings are eerily similar to mine. Weren't you a rent collector for your parents back in the day?
Oh, yes, I was. My parents, they were very intentional about wealth building. And growing up, I went to so many open houses. We collected rent. We've dealt with meth houses in Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
I spent my childhood going to an apartment collecting quarters from the laundry machine. And so by the time I was 9 years old, I already knew how to roll $10 worth of quarters.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, my dad was a single family investor and commercial investor. And from 3, 4, 5 on, I was walking dumps and collecting rent. And when I was in college, I learned how to collect rent. And he had a lot of back tenants because he was too nice. So he told me, if you can get the rent, you can keep half of it. And that's how I kind of figured out how to deal with tenants early. What was it like for you starting to understand like real estate and tenancies at a young age, and how much did it help you when you really got into it later?
To be honest, my parents almost didn't teach me anything.
They just brought you.
They just brought me along, and I think it was like my first investment property I was 24 years old. This is in Markham, Ontario. So if you're familiar with the Greater Toronto area, real estate has gotten unbelievably expensive now.
Yeah.
But back then, my first property was a single family home with a basement studio. So I was house hacking by the time I was 24. And luckily, I didn't ever have any problems until I rented to a coworker. Yeah. So that's a lesson learned. Don't rent to people you know, because it makes that relationship even harder and more awkward. But generally speaking, it's just been a journey for me. My parents didn't really teach me anything until I asked them, like, I think I was in my 30s, like, exactly how did you grow your portfolio? And they're like, oh, we never told you. No, you didn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
And the secret sauce there is they said they would find a property, they would buy it, rent it out. And in about 5 years, that property would appreciate and they would refinance it, cash out, and buy another one. And that's what they did, one rental at a time. 9 months after I bought that property in Canada, I was relocated to go work at the Tetra Pak office in Chicago. So I became an accidental landlord twice over because now I had the basement to rent and then I had upstairs to rent. But I made $100,000 5 years later selling that property. So then I was like, oh, that's awesome. But I was in a different phase of my life. I was in my heading to my 30s at the time. And it was a different time. We didn't have social media. We didn't have Facebook. It was a very lonely journey to think about real estate investing, even though I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and all that stuff. So instead of seeing that money as an investment like house hacking, I ended up buying a condo in Chicago and I closed on it in April of 2007. So having ridden the cycle of economics, you'll know that was the height of the market. And within like 9 months, I think I lost 30 to 40% of the value of the condo that I bought.
Yeah.
And then I got pregnant and then again became an accidental landlord, bought a place in the suburbs and ended up renting that place out at a $600 a month loss, thinking
the condo.
Yeah, thinking that the market would turn around. And that's when I learned how much location matters. Because it was in a gentrifying neighborhood. And anyways, long story short, I really didn't switch my mindset over to real estate investing with intention until 2017 when I was like, my kids were toddlers and every day was the same grind. I couldn't see myself living this corporate life for the rest of my life. And I thought, you know what? 5 years from now, I would love to have a life where I could travel. I could spend time with my kids. I wouldn't have to ask or be denied for a day off. And that was my motivation for going all in real estate.
Let's talk hospitality a little because I know that's been a big part of your journey. When along the voyage of starting to rent out places and then getting into short or midterm, did you realize that hospitality was the key to success?
Well, first of all, I had hospitality experience because I had an internship before I started college,
Mm,
and I loved it. I worked at a hotel. I went through a rotational program in Hong Kong where I learned the ins and outs of sales and marketing and front desk and concierge. And I really love that because I'm just the kind of curious person that likes to dive into many different things and get experience and
yeah,
hands on. And I always knew that I wanted to get back into hospitality, but wasn't sure how because I can't buy a hotel. Um,
yeah,
but it's not about what you can't do, it's about what you can do. And when I came across our sixth flip, this is in 2019, I thought, you know what, this property would be perfect for Airbnb because it was in a non-HOA neighborhood. It was really close to downtown Austin. It was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. I'm like, it'll probably work, but I wasn't really sure at that time. We only had AirDNA and AirDNA was projecting a certain income. I was like, you know what? Again, what's the worst that can happen? The
yeah.
worst that can happen is
Long-term
that,
rental.
yeah, a long-term rental, or I could sell it. So when you have that what's the worst that can happen mindset, really the really worst that can happen is someone destroys your property or whatever it is. But when you come out ahead and those things don't happen, that's when you are happy. You're
Yeah.
you can become delighted that those things didn't happen and it exceeds your expectation. So, to answer your question, I always knew I wanted to be back in hospitality and I flourished because I loved welcoming guests. I loved sharing my experiences with my favorite restaurants and um, just helping them have a great experience while they're visiting Austin.
So at Hestia, are you guys looking for other people to kind of take over and then partner with them when they have existing Airbnbs? And are you also like operating your own units? How does that work?
So there's Hestia and there's Hestia 360. Hestia 360 is here in Austin. It's my full service property management company. So for anybody that doesn't have professional host experience or for someone that wants to be completely hands off, that's the solution. But then there are other people that are like that aren't in the Austin market or they want to still run their property on their own. They can apply to our lead generation, education, and certification program where they still have full control of their property, but we go ahead and do the certification. They can post that certification in their Airbnb listing, in their Zillow listing, in their Furnish Finder listing, whatever it is that said, this isn't just a house with furniture in it.
Yeah.
This is a property that's been vetted to corporate standards.
Yeah. So that's a separate partnership. They find you or you find them through that, and then they're giving themselves like a nice upgrade that can rise above what else is out there.
Absolutely, because I can tell you one thing, there's a lot of people sliding in from short-term rentals into midterm rentals, and now you're
Yeah.
gonna find a way to differentiate your midterm rental amongst all the other midterm rentals out there. So are you
Yeah.
gonna be seen as a professional host or just another property with furniture in it?